welcome to the Deep Dive. We basically take compelling ideas from some really fascinating sources, and we try to distill the most important insights, just for you. Today, we're diving deep into something super personal, I think. It's about navigating the complexities of our inner world.
Yeah, it gets complicated in there.
Totally.
Yeah.
So our mission is to give you a bit of a shortcut, hopefully, to being truly well-informed about, well, yourself.
Which is harder than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've shared some incredible material with us on self-knowledge, the nuances of emotions, the power of thought.
A lot to unpack there.
For sure. And what really jumped out were these two kind of profound layers of the soul. Our sources call them ruach, that's like spirit and emotions.
Right.
And Neshama, which is more about deep thought, insight.
My thinking part.
Exactly. And they're presented as these essential pathways to really understanding who we are, beyond just the surface level.
And what's so fascinating here, I think, is just how foundational this kind of self-knowledge really is. It's not just navel-gazing, like you said.
Right.
It's actually essential for making conscious choices in life.
Right.
Acting deliberately instead of just reacting all the time, habitually.
That makes sense.
And we've touched on this before in other deep dives, the broader spiritual framework, the 5 parts of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida.
Right. We started with Nefesh.
Yeah, Nefesh was our starting point, our sort of natural physical powers, how we interact with reality outside us. But today, we're going deeper into these more intricate realms, Ruach, Neshama, and they offer, much richer insights, I think, into our inner landscape.
Okay, so this takes us straight into something, really interesting and maybe a bit challenging, understanding our emotions.
The Ruach part.
Yeah, the Ruach. Our sources basically say right off the bat that recognizing and truly knowing our emotional self is way more intricate than just like acknowledging our physical body or the world out there.
It's less obvious.
Much less obvious. Think about it like a marriage, a couple, even after decades together, they're still learning new things about each other.
Absolutely. It's ongoing.
It's totally ongoing, never really complete. It takes constant study, patience, a lot of patience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we need to approach understanding our own emotions. It's a journey, and it often deepens as we mature, right? Kids don't usually do deep self-reflection.
Not typically, no. And a really crucial distinction the sources make right away is that the goal here, initially anyway, is not to jump into changing your character traits.
Okay, so not fixing things immediately.
Right, not the Avodat Hamidah, the work of refining attributes, as it's called. First, the goal is purely to know them, just see them as they are.
Just observe.
Exactly. That foundational self-knowledge has to come before any attempt at self-improvement. It's like, imagine an educator. They have 30 kids in the class, all different. To teach them well, they first have to learn each one's unique qualities, who's shy, who's sad, who gets angry easily, who's maybe a bit prideful.
You have to know your audience, basically.
Precisely. Educate a child according to his way, as the saying goes. So in the same way, we have to become that attentive educator for our own inner world, observe ourselves, but without that immediate judgment.
That's hard, though.
It is, but it's key. And to help with this, our sources bring in this really ancient framework. It comes from Rabbi Chambatal's Sha'arei Kedusha.
Okay.
It uses the 4 natural elements, fire, wind, which is also spirit or ruach, water, and earth. And it links them to emotional and character traits.
Interesting. So how does that break down?
Well, fire represents ascent, ambition, that drive upwards. Positively, it's like deep devotion, spiritual elevation, may his heart be established in the ways of God.
Nice.
But negatively, it can be arrogance or anger.
Okay. 2 sides of the coin.
Exactly. Then wind, or ruach, the element itself, is connected to speech, communication.
Makes sense. Ruach means spirit or wind.
Right. Positively, it's meaningful talk, constructive discussion. Negatively, it's, gossip, useless chatter, maybe even destructive speech.
Okay. What about water?
Water relates to desires, passions. The positive side is that yearning for holiness, for deep connection, like the verse, "My soul yearned for the courts of God."
Beautiful.
But the negative, destructive cravings, unhealthy desires, you know the type.
Yeah. And earth?
Earth corresponds to sadness, laziness, that feeling of being pulled down. It's generally seen as negative, leading to depression or withdrawal, but maybe in a very limited way can relate to introspection sometimes.
Mostly negative, though.
Mostly, yeah.
So we have these 4 elements. How do we actually Figure out which one is strongest in us.
Great question. The sources suggest a really interesting method. Observe yourself during both your falls and your ascents.
Falls in a sense, like highs and lows.
Kind of. Falls are those moments of weakness when you slip into negative tendencies. Ascents are moments of upliftment, positive inclinations. So, during a fall, what's your go-to? Do you retreat into sadness? Get depressed? That points to earth.
Right.
Or do you give in to desires, cravings? That's water. Maybe you start talking unnecessarily, gossiping, that's wind.
Okay.
Or do you flare up with arrogance or anger? That's fire.
Gotcha. And on the flip side, the ascents.
Yeah, during an ascent, where does your energy go? Towards deep devotion, that's fire. Towards impacting people positively with your words, that's wind. Feeling deep love and connection, that's water. Or maybe being really precise, grounded, realistic, that could be earth in its positive aspect.
Fascinating. So you look at both sides.
Exactly. And what's really profound here is the insight that often the same strong inner force shows up in both the positive and negative extremes in a person.
Like that phrase, God made one corresponding to the other.
Precisely. So the big takeaway is, by watching your emotional reactions, your tendencies in both good and bad moments, using this elemental lens, you start to uncover your fundamental energetic makeup.
A blueprint.
Your blueprint, exactly. And it's not just about finding your main element. True self-knowledge, the sources say, means understanding the secondary, the tertiary forces, too. Their interplay defines your unique inner world.
Complex.
Very complex. And the sources are clear. This deep self-study takes years, not seconds. It's definitely not some quick online personality quiz.
Right, no quick fix.
Yeah.
That's a powerful framework, though. But okay, how do we actually do this? What are the practical steps for you listening? Because self-awareness is, well, it's notoriously tricky for us humans.
It really is.
We tend to forget our daily lives, don't we? We remember the big things, births, weddings, huge sorrows. But yesterday, often a blur.
Yeah, the mundane slips away.
Exactly. The source actually uses this great image, the book of human history. Our life story is written in our hearts.
Yeah.
But the pages of yesterday often get lost.
Wow.
So the radical suggestion here, you have to keep records for real self-knowledge.
Plain journal.
Yes, not just any journal, not just, had a good day or felt sad. That's too superficial.
Right.
You have to dig deeper. Write down the causes, the driving forces behind your emotions and actions.
Okay, give me an example.
Like instead of, I was happy, right? I was happy because X happened, and that fulfilled my need for Y. Or I got angry because Z event triggered my feeling of being treated unfairly. You see, the why.
The why behind the what.
Exactly. The sources give this example. Imagine you lost, say, 1,000 shekels.
Ouch.
Right. Document your immediate reaction. Then, maybe 2 years later, you look back at that entry. How do you feel about it now? Has your reaction changed? That shows growth, right? The advancement of the soul, they call it.
That's really practical, seeing the change over time.
Yeah. This kind of journaling reveals your inner movements and, crucially, their underlying causes. And then regularly reviewing these past entries helps you spot patterns, maybe upward trends, maybe times you felt stuck.
So it's an active review process, too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, importantly, approach this without pressure. Be incredibly patient. They use the analogy of building a house. It takes, 10 months or more? So don't expect mind-blowing insights after just a few weeks of journaling. It takes time.
Good reminder.
But they call this carefully kept book of human history the most precious asset you can have for truly knowing yourself.
More valuable than anything external.
Absolutely. Think of that taxi driver analogy they use. The driver's focused on the fare, the destination.
Yeah.
But their soul, it's traveling countless inner roads, having all these thoughts and feelings. We need to actually map those inner journeys.
Become the cartographer of our own minds.
I love that. And here's a challenging thought they throw out. If you get to age 30 or 40, and you're not really discovering new things about yourself, new layers, you've probably stopped learning. Or maybe never really started.
Wow. That's a wake-up call.
Because the soul, they suggest, has infinite layers to explore. Always more to learn.
Always more.
Okay, so that's Ruach, the emotional landscape. Now let's go even deeper. Let's talk about Neshama.
Right, the soul's power of thought.
Exactly. The sources introduce this as the power of deep contemplation, understanding, insight. They quote that verse, the breath of the Almighty gives them understanding.
Neshama breath.
Yeah. And they say a core trait of truly wise people is they always think. It's not if they think, but what they think about. and maybe most importantly, how they think.
The quality of thought.
Precisely. Which brings us to this critical distinction the sources make. Dead thought versus living thought.
What's the difference?
Dead thought is described as like external utilitarian,
Yeah.
detached from your core self.
Give me an example.
Think of a programmer coding for 10 hours. They're thinking intensely, right?
For sure.
But the software, once it's built, it's external. It's not really part of their inner being. Thinking for money, organizing tasks, reacting to phone calls. It's functional, necessary even, but it's not living thought in this sense.
Got it. It serves an external purpose.
Right. Living thought, on the other hand,
Yeah.
that comes from the very essence of your soul. It's spontaneous, vital, almost like breathing, involuntary. This, they say, is the hallmark of true sages. Their thinking isn't just some ideology they learned or a skill they picked up. It's intrinsic to who they are. It flows from their life force.
That's a profound difference. Not just thinking about things, but thinking as a state of being.
Exactly. And what's so insightful here from the sources is how, for most of us, our thought patterns are largely, well, borrowed.
Borrowed? How so? They're heavily influenced by the news we consume, our social circles, the media we're exposed to. It creates this kind of default setting. Or, as the source puts it really vividly, like crumbs in the cup, these external bits inevitably color and filter everything else we think. And that makes our thoughts more dead than living.
So secondhand thinking almost.
Pretty much, yeah. They point to Abraham as this amazing example of someone who developed his own internal, independent way of thinking. He even rejected the norms and teachings of his own father, Terach.
A real independent thinker.
Totally. And his story kind of sets up the big question for us. How do you break free from these ingrained external patterns and actually cultivate that authentic, living Neshama thought?
Yeah, how do you do that? Especially when tradition is so important.
Right. And it's interesting, our tradition seems to have this, like, apparent contradiction. On one hand, you're praised for not saying anything you haven't heard directly from your teachers. Respect tradition.
Pass it on faithfully.
But on the other hand, students are massively lauded for innovating, for coming up with new insights. Chidushim.
So which is it?
It highlights that super delicate but essential balance between absorbing tradition and developing your own personal internal insight.
Finding your own voice within the tradition.
Exactly. And you can really see the power of these ingrained external patterns when you look at, say, different historical schools of thought, like the approach in Vilna versus Poland versus the Spanish sages.
Different styles.
Totally different styles. You could send the exact same question to scholars from each school, and you'd likely get completely different answers. Not because anyone's wrong, but because they have fundamentally distinct, deeply embedded thought patterns.
Wow, like different operating systems.
That's a great analogy. And the sources stress, just because you were born somewhere or into a certain tradition, doesn't automatically mean that's your true, authentic thinking style. You might be a Polish thinker born in Spain, or vice versa, metaphorically speaking.
So you have to find your own intellectual home almost.
You do, which leads to the how. How do you break free and cultivate this authentic Neshama thought? The sources give us two main strategies.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, there's an external strategy. They basically say, read everything.
Everything.
Well, read widely. All types of books, viewpoints from all kinds of sages and schools of thought. Don't just stick to your immediate circle or tradition.
Broaden your horizons.
Massively. Then, after you've absorbed all this, you have to honestly look inside and see which approach truly resonates with you, deep down, regardless of your upbringing.
Finding your frequency.
Yeah, finding your unique spiritual color or your share in the bigger picture of wisdom, that's the external path.
Okay, and the internal?
The internal strategy is maybe even more revolutionary. It's simple but powerful. Pause and think before you look for the answer.
Stop before you search.
Yes. They give this great example with studying Rashi's commentary on the Torah, or Talmud.
A classic commentator.
Right. So you read the question Rashi asks. Then stop. Close the book. Really, ponder it yourself. Try to figure out what you think the answer might be. Only then do you open it up and see what Rashi says.
Compare your thought process to his.
Exactly. If you happen to match, the source says you've discovered the Rashi within you. You've tapped into that same logic. If not, you analyze the difference. Why did he think that way? And I thought this way.
That's active learning.
It's more than active learning. The sources say this process literally awakens the root of your soul. It forces genuine, independent thought.
which is the opposite of just memorizing answers.
Totally. It's a critique, really, of educational systems that sometimes just train people to be, well, robots, memorizing prepackaged answers instead of engaging in that struggle of real thinking.
Yeah, we see that sometimes.
And there are these great anecdotes, like a Rosh Yeshiva, a dean, who would actively tell his students, go check my sources, don't just take my word for it, look it up in the Quetzat or the Gemara itself.
Fostering critical thinking, not just acceptance.
Exactly. And the sources warn about modern shortcuts, the simplified summaries, the easy guides.
They're convenient, though.
They are convenient, but they rob you of the necessary intellectual struggle. That struggle is what builds the muscle of deep thought. Without it, you don't discover your inner neshama.
Like using a calculator instead of learning arithmetic.
Perfect analogy. They mention the Shazan Ish, a huge sage who famously studied the Gemara before even looking at Rashi, forcing his own mind to grapple with the raw text first.
Wow, that takes discipline.
Immense discipline. Or Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik, apparently he deliberately kept his clock 12 minutes off.
Why would he do that?
Not because it was broken, but so he'd constantly have to think and calculate the real time. It was training, constantly engaging his mind to think critically about everything, even something mundane.
That's incredible dedication to thinking.
It really is. And we can apply this principle, in everyday life. Big decisions, small ones.
How so?
Well, parents could prompt their kids.
Okay.
Before you get the answer to why, try to think about it first. Foster that habit early.
Good idea.
And for ourselves, challenge yourself to pause before big life choices. Getting married. Don't just do it because it's expected. Ask why. Why do I want this? What does it mean to me?
Digging deep on the motivations.
Exactly. Or even daily routines. Praying before eating. Why that order? The Kotzker Rebbe apparently advised a disciple who was hungry before prayers to analyze why he wanted to eat first. Understand the impulse.
That level of self-awareness. Wow.
It's that constant, deliberate thinking about the why that's essential for uncovering the neshama. Without that deep thinking mind, the sources say quite starkly, there is no hope. The mind can't effectively guide the heart.
Okay, so pulling all this together then, what does this all mean for you listening to this? As we sort of wrap up this deep dive, we've looked at these two really profound paths to self-discovery, right? First, understanding our complex emotional world, that ruach, through really diligent observation, and that patient practice of journaling, mapping the inner movements, the causes.
Knowing the heart.
Knowing the heart. And second, cultivating that living, independent thought, the neshama, by deliberately pausing, questioning, engaging in that intellectual struggle, not just consuming information passively.
Training the mind.
Training the mind. And it's clear these aren't quick fixes, are they? They're lifelong projects, really rewarding ones, hopefully, like building that sturdy spiritual house, layer by layer, patiently.
Yeah, it requires persistence.
But the ultimate goal isn't necessarily external stuff, validation. It's that deep internal awareness, that most precious asset, as the sources called it, of truly knowing yourself, your feelings, your motivations, your unique way of thinking.
Yeah, that inner richness.
So maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Yeah, well, this raises, I think, an important question for you to carry forward. Consider this. Every single person, the sources suggest, has a unique divine share, or maybe a color in the world of wisdom, a unique thinking pattern meant just for them.
Like a signature way of understanding.
Exactly. And the sustained effort to actually uncover that through watching your emotions, through consciously thinking for yourself, it isn't just self-help. It's framed as a profound act of spiritual discovery. You're actively revealing that divine spark within you. So the question to ponder is, what unique thought patterns might be lying dormant inside your soul right now, just waiting for you to awaken them?